Hello everyone. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Sigma 40mm 1.4 lens. I'm going to be comparing it to the Zeiss Batis 40mm f2.0. Now this is an interesting comparison because we're looking at two different type of lenses in the sense that the Sigma Art, it's a no compromise huge lens, and the Batis is looking to finding a more balanced approach between IQ and size. So I'll present you with some different photos that I took. You can be able to download them from the description, and then you can decide which one you like. Is it better for you to go all IQ? Do you prefer the balanced approach of the Zeiss? At the end of the day, it's your decision. So let's check this out. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and we have all the files open to start the comparison. So first of all, I have them all labeled, and you will have all the files in the description so you can download them and test them on your end. So this is just going to be just my opinion of what I'm seeing, but of course you feel free to download them and analyze them yourselves. So this is the Sigma full body shot. This is the Batis. Now I can see right away, you can tell without having to pixel peep that obviously at 1.4, the Sigma is going to create more blur and more subject isolation than the Batis at f2. I also can see that the Sigma seems to be a bit shorter, and that happened with all the tests. I always felt that it was a bit shorter than the Batis. Not a huge thing, but you can still notice. But anyway, you can see the difference between the rendering. How, for example, here the blur, it's a lot more with Sigma, as it should be. And you can also see foreground elements like the flowers on the right side, because I don't think you can see my cursor pointing. And you can see here it's more blurry. So let's zoom in a little bit and just take a quick look around and see how things look. So first of all, focus with eye focus, it was on the eyes, of course. And sharpness wise, they look very similar to me, even though technically the Sigma should be the sharper lens, but I guess at this point you can't really tell much, at least in the center. One thing here, let's see, look at these flowers. So this is the Sigma, and this is the Batis. So you can definitely notice the difference in blur. Same thing here with the tree, how the textures look from the Batis to the Sigma. The extra blur from 1.4 just creates a bit more separation, which I like. But of course, the Sigma is a much bigger lens than the Batis, so you have to take that into consideration. Same here, you can see the flowers right into her right side or her left side. If you look in from her perspective, the Batis just renders it more normal, than the Sigma just blurs it out more, even though it's not exactly super smooth. Let's see on this kind of bush here next to her right side. So here the Batis, more structure to it, and the Sigma is a bit more blur. Again, it's not super smooth, but definitely smoother than the Batis. This one there. Let's taking a look here on this bush here, Batis, and now the Sigma. There's a difference that's so huge. It's one thing when you look at it at a normal size, you can tell overall that extra pop or subject isolation that you get from the Sigma. Let's see how these flowers look. So this is the Sigma, I'm sorry, the Batis, and this is the Sigma now. Sigma and Batis. So you can see how this here in front is more defined here with the Batis, unlike with the Sigma, which is thanks to its 1.4, it creates an extra layer of blur that you're missing on the Batis. Now, one of the things that you will notice is see how clean the bokeh balls are right here in the Sigma, and now take a look at the Batis. You see that this kind of like purple aberration here in the center. Again, Sigma, Batis, and that's one of the things that I don't like about the rendering of the Batis, even though in some other areas I actually like it, but in some areas like this, it's like just like fish scales or something that I don't really enjoy. So definitely thanks Instagram for showing up on the video recording. Let's see what else we can look around here. Let's see how the detail goes to the boots. Looks very similar to me in detail. I think the Batis is actually doing a really good job on detail wise. Keeping up here is not so much on this side. I'm not sure if it's the center, but you can see how the Sigma 1.4 is a lot more detail on these areas here. But overall, considering the size of the Batis, I actually like it. I actually like the lens. I haven't considered having a smaller lens like that if I need to travel and I wanted to take some primes and don't want to bring the huge Sigmas for any reason. If it's not like for a paid job and I don't need to bring the biggest, my favorite primes, then I will just bring something smaller that still gives me awesome quality like this Batis. But overall, let's see this here. Okay, yes, still the same. You can still see more of the textures here than you can see here. So going back to normal size, from again Sigma and Batis, as you can see, is labeled. So definitely there's the extra pop when you go to the separation from the Sigma. And like I said, download the file and check it on your end. Let's move to another side just to check the sharpness on the one other side instead of the center. So here with the Sigma, we have the Batis, and here the Sigma has an advantage. You can see that more detail on the eyes. The Batis seems to be losing eye detail right here when it moves away from the center, which is to be expected because it's one of the sacrifices of the smaller size. It's harder to keep as good as a performance from as you have in the center across the frame because you're kind of sacrificing or balancing the lens size and the performance. And Sigma mentality is more like into that I don't care how big the lens is as long as it performs across the frame. So it's a different type of manufacturing between Batis and the Sigma lens. So it's choices. You have choices. Do you want to go all out in IQ, or do you want something a bit more balanced where you don't have a super big lens? It's your choice. For my work, I don't care. I prefer IQ over anything. But if you have a different preference or requirement, then you have options, and that's a good thing. You can see here this. From here, you get a more normal view. This one is blurrier, but it's kind of like a double line. So I'm not sure if it's any better. It just looks nervous. And this is one of the reasons I ended up with the 35 1.2 Sigma, because I wanted a smoother bokeh than what the 40 was giving me. But that's for another story and another video that is coming up. Anyways, just wanted to show this side, how the rendering looks. A few more flowers here. And then let's go back to normal size and see how this looks. Again, you will get that extra pop separation with the subject when you go to the Sigma, thanks to its 1.4 aperture. Let's see how the sharpness looks all the way here. I should have done this. Batis, Sigma. There you go, Batis and Sigma. Looks like the Batis is actually sharper on that side. But it's a different depth of field between the two lenses, so this was more of a test on how good the sharpness is. I mean, sure, the sharpness is more detail on this side for the Sigma, but it's like not like the Batis is doing a horrible job either. It's actually doing really good, so keep that in mind. It's all about perspective, and this is a 42 megapixel camera. If you have a 24, you may not notice as much. So also keep that into perspective. And if you're painting large or not, all those things you need to consider. Here we have another shot. This is more centered, half body shot. Sigma, Batis. Once again, you can see the difference in 3D pop. Like this blur here just makes her stand out more versus here. Just because of having that 1.4. Now let's take a look at some of the rendition here. This is the Batis, and this is a raw picture. This is the Sigma Batis. Sigma. Once again, we see how clean these bokeh balls are versus these ones, which is probably the thing that annoys me the most about this lens. Maybe it doesn't bother you, but I prefer this cleanness here. Besides, also smoother. You can see that it's a more defined outline of this bokeh ball versus this. It's a lot cleaner with just white, as I would expect it to be. This lens is extremely well corrected, which in turn is one of the reasons that it's also not as smooth as the 31.1.2. Sometimes when you go into way too much correction on the lens, then you end up sacrificing the smoothness of the bokeh. So it's kind of like a balancing act to find the right between how much correction and how much smoothness you want to leave in the lens. But like I said, again, choices. You got choices. You pick the one that works the best for you. In this case, look how here in the center area, that how much this structure on the bat is here that is gone. Just makes for just a smoother image overall, which I enjoy definitely more. And this is one of the reasons I love fast lenses, fast primes, especially when they can give me smooth performance like this. Now, like I said, it's not the smoothest lens. That's why I went to the 1.2 35mm, but between these two, I like this one better. But again, size-wise, there are a big difference in size. So don't forget that. If that matters to you, the Batis is the one for you. If you don't care about size, I will go with the Sigma. You can see here on a tighter shot. I mean, it's very easy to tell from here to here. It's a huge difference between the two. She just pops out of the frame with this. And it's actually pretty smooth on this one. So not a lot to look at here, and you see how the resolution looks on the eyes. This is the Batis and this is the Sigma. You can see the sharpness in the eyes are definitely more detailed here in this shot. And please do remember that even though I'm showing you two pictures here, I took at least 10 photos for each or so, several, anywhere from 5 to 10 normally, for each scene that we're showing. So what you're seeing here is just the two best photos that I was able to find for each. They were pretty consistent on autofocus, so I wouldn't worry about autofocus issues. They're accurate, but these are the best of the best for each lens and each particular scene. So it's not that I just took one picture and it was blurry and then I just compared it to and the other one got lucky and got a sharper picture and now I'm screwing with my results. No, what you're seeing is just the best of the best for each lens. And don't remember, or don't forget, to download the files. Okay, so this is the last photo. So in this one, I decided to do one more thing. I added the Sigma also f2 just to match the Batis and see how they look at the same aperture. So here we had Sigma at 1.4. This is the Sigma at 2. And this is the Batis f2. So Batis and Sigma f2. So at the same aperture, they look similar, but I still see that the Sigma at f2 is a bit smoother, like check here the tree trunk on the back. But it's not going to be a huge difference now because they're at the same aperture. So let's just go 100% and see if you can tell any difference. So here we got the Batis. Let's have the tree trunk here and change into the Sigma at f2. So yeah, there's a bit smoother on the Sigma, even though it's a bit shorter as well. As you can see how it's a bit shorter when I change. And you still have the same bokeh balls here with the outlines inside on the Batis versus the Sigma clear ones. And when you go to the Sigma at 1.4, definitely a big jump on between the two. Here we go, the f1.4 Sigma to the Batis. Sharpness wise, if we go to the Batis, the Sigma 1.4 versus f2, Yeah, you can see some of the difference there. And then to the Batis. So Batis wide open to Sigma wide open. Not a huge difference in this particular scene. So normally the difference is going to be mostly the rendering, like you can see here again, the same areas. So Sigma at a 1.4, Sigma at f2, Batis at f2. So even at the same, you can see how the structure on these tiny flowers on the back, in the center, from the Batis to the Sigma at f2 at the same aperture, the Sigma is still able to give a nicer bokeh, even if it's not a huge difference as it is at 1.4. But you can still see that it's smoother at f2 than the Batis is at f2. So just go back to regular size here. And I'm going to summarize my thoughts about both lenses. And in the meantime, some images are going to be displaying. And some were taken with the 85 and the 135. So just keep that in mind. Regarding my comparison and how I see both lenses, I actually like both lenses. The rendering of the Batis is not bad at all. Of course, it doesn't have the same smoothness and blur as the Sigma, but overall, I find it, considering the size, is a really, really nice lens, and the colors are really beautiful too. So it's a matter of deciding which one works for you guys. Do you want all IQ sharpness across the frame? Go with the Sigma. That's gonna give you that for sure. It's gonna give you more blur, even if it has the same f2.0. The Sigma still gives a bit more blur, and at 1.4 is surely clear that the subject just pops out more. But then you're dealing with the big lens. I mean, it's definitely bigger than the Zeiss. So if you travel a lot and you want to keep it small bag, or less weight if you're hiking, then you might want to consider the Batis instead. Now with the Batis, you get the benefit of a smaller lens, of course, lighter. It still has beautiful rendition. And one thing that it does is allows for a much closer focusing. So as a sort of a macro lens, the Batis is definitely superior to the Sigma. The Sigma doesn't let you get nearly as close. I should have shown that, but sorry, I just wanted to point it out at least. So for my personal use, when I'm doing portrait work, like environmental shots, I would have gone for the Sigma most of the time. If I'm going to travel or want to go light, something like the Batis will definitely work great, and it produces beautiful results. So easily is a professional type of lens. In the end, I ended up going to the Sigma 35 1.2, and I will be doing a review of that one as well. Mainly because I love the smoother blur of the Sigma versus the 40 millimeter. But that's for another story. For now, I'll leave you with the files to download. Check them out and let me know which one you like. Do you prefer to go all IQ, or do you prefer the balanced approach to the Batis? Write the comments. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, like, and see you again later. Thank you for watching.